number 5 Auburn Tigers versus the number 12 Liberty Flames. Now, there's a lot about the Auburn Tigers, blah, blah, blah. It was named Mascot of the Year at some time. It's a cool mascot. And they also have a War Eagle, which I did some in-depth dive on that. But they have never been called the War Eagles. They have never been the Eagles. They're the Tigers who say War Eagle. Now, to add to that, they used to have an eagle that did the flyover on the stadium. If you've ever seen it, it looks awesome. I've never seen it in person, but yeah, the eagle flies over and lands on the guy's head. Anyway, one of the eagles used to be named Tiger, and so there's just that doesn't bode well for Auburn in this situation.
Yeah, I mean, initially where my head goes, it's and I've already forgotten the matchup. It was they were against
the Liberty Flames.
The Liberty Flames. Liberty Flames. While I applaud Liberty's effort to go with something, it is a faith-based institution. You're going something that's intangible, right? It's got a lot of symbolism. However, what Auburn has, and I've been to several games at Auburn, and I'm a Georgia boy, Georgia Bulldog fan as well. Hard for me to say this, but Aubie, the actual costume mascot, Aubie, very cool mascot, very entertaining. I know you're an SEC fan as well, SEC grad.
That's right.
But I mean, I have a really hard time just cheering for a flame. It's not even the Flames, right? Or are they?
No, it is the Flames with an S. Yeah. Here, let me give you a brief background. The Flames, their name is the actual mascot's name is Spark the Eagle. As you mentioned, they're a Christian university, a faith-based university. Their motto is knowledge aflame. Now, here's what I thought. In some instances, the Holy Spirit is described as a flame, and that's what I thought the flame was. All right? So I'm like, well, it's going to be hard for me to say the Holy Spirit can't be whomever. Anyway, I looked and looked, and that's not the case. They never say that on their website, in the Wikipedia. The flame is not the Holy Spirit. It's just the flame. And actually their motto is knowledge aflame.
Aflame.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think we got to go with chalk on this one. I think we got to go with Auburn. At least that's my take on it. I mean, feel free to argue me on that, but it's interesting too that we got two mascots where Eagles are tied into it, right? But It's not really part of
that's a good point.
of the official mascot. But ultimately, I think just that's the strength behind Auburn Tigers on the Plains versus the Liberty Flames, whose athletic pedigree is still pretty nascent. Yeah, I think we're going with the Auburn Tigers on this one.
I will add this on Liberty's website. This is one of the things in their history. In 2005, at Liberty University's first annual Winterfest, more than 5,000 people attend, and over 250 decisions for Christ are made. So that was on the head of their website. So way to go, Liberty Flames. You lose, but way to go.
Yeah, that's right. Fair enough.
All right,
we're going to get all kinds of Big South hate in the comments right here. When it comes time. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, Liberty now part of the Atlantic Sun for basketball.
I think you're right.
Mercer's former conference as well. But yeah, Big South for football. So my apologies. Again, we're just dumping all over Liberty here, putting them down in the mascot rankings. But anyway.
All right, now we're moving on to Wisconsin, 4 seed versus North Texas, a 13 seed. Do you know their representative, their mascots?
Wisconsin, the Badgers, of course,
right.
And the North Texas Mean Green.
That is exactly right. Formerly the Eagles. We'll start with Wisconsin. Wisconsin, Badger, Buckingham, U, Badger. The U is just an initial, doesn't actually stand for anything. Buckingham. An actual Badger from Eau Claire was used at the first few football games, but proved to be too fierce to be controlled properly and was retired to the nearby Henryville Zoo. After that,
strong out the gates from Wisconsin. Yeah. There's
listen to this. Listen to this. But they just absolutely destroy it. After that, the school replaced the live badger with a live raccoon named Reg Dab. That's badger spelled backwards.
Oh no, more backwards animal spellings. Yeah. What's wrong?
The more I researched this, the more I saw there was a lot of Native American Indian names that got kind of pushed under the rug. A lot of newspapers in the time decided what the teams were, or the popular football coach decided. There's a lot of that, and so
yes, why we love sports. It's why we love college sports, especially, right? I mean, yeah, that's great.
Okay. They use Bucky for all different types of things at the university. He can be a symbol for the different departments, like Bucky wearing a Speedo is the swimming team, Bucky wearing a snare drum, but blind Bucky is the law school. But then, like a couple years ago, they told him not to do it because that's brand dilution. So you can't do that anymore. Wisconsin, sorry about that. All right, North Texas, the Mean Green. Their mascot is the Scrappy Eagle. Do you know how they got the name Mean Green?
I do not.
Because Mean Joe Green played defense there in the 60s. He led them to 23-5-1 in his 29 games at defensive tackle. He held the opposition to 2,507 yards on 1,276 carries. That is 2 yards per carry for every play he was out there. So a little bit less than 2 yards per carry for every play Mean Joe Green was on the field. And so after that, they started calling themselves the Mean Green.
Initial thoughts. We got about 40 seconds here on this 3-minute timer.
We gotta go with this.
No, I think we can get there, Josh. I mean, love the backstory with the Mean Green. This is a basketball style tournament, so the fact that Mean Joe Green, I don't love the single sport mascot trying to carry over into the other sports. That gets a little hairy. I do love the fact that the Badger couldn't contain the Badger, right? I mean, we knew that from the Honey Badger a while back, right? But the fact that the Badger is literally quoted as being too fierce, that's up to me. My head goes with Wisconsin. All
right, I'm gonna go ahead and take my timeout here, the official timeout. So we'll add 3 minutes to this timer because I feel like we need to go in this just a little bit more. I want to say they did a good job moving from a bird similar to the cat. A lot of birds out there. It's like cats, birds, and then kind of dogs. All right, dogs are up there, but there's different kinds of dogs. But they moved away from the bird to the Mean Green, and when I think of just a Mean Green, that's just like a blob of just, man, I don't know what's in there. I don't know if they're fighting, if what happens, if whatever gets sucked in.
We talked about brand dilution with Wisconsin, but I think Mean Green, the film Flubber, in both of its iterations did not help the Mean Green's case. I think for what we're talking about today.
That kind of tilts my thinking now, and I'm kind of like smiling and laughing. I like Flubber. Flubber was.
It's not as.
That's a great point.
It's not as fierce as it could be, and look, again, we talked earlier. This is not a discussion of who's the fiercest mascot, right? Like that's just in terms of who would win as well in a battle. I like the thought of a Mean Green, sort of nebulous mist you can't really control. To your point, there's a lot of mystery there, and let's be real, Mean Joe Green was a tough son of a gun. So the fact that you've put your whole athletics branding, the face of your university to the outside world is based off of this really tough guy who wouldn't let you get 3 yards.
Hall of Famer.
Hall of Famer. I mean, golly.
Missouri Valley Conference all-time selection.
That is what it is, Josh. That is what it is. Missouri Valley Conference.
Here's your fast fact. Mean Joe Green got married when he was a junior to Agnes Kraft, and he didn't really like the name Mean Joe Green. He liked to be known for a player that played well and was a good teammate. So, also, their basketball arena is called the Super Pit, which is awesome, and they're sponsored by Whataburger.
Ooh. Look, again, I'm trying to keep our discussion here focused on the mascot, and I mean a Badger, though small, relative to the sizes of other, especially a nebulous green cloud, right, as we discussed. I'm still leaning towards the Badger, but I mean, the delegates in my head are 45-55.
I will concede. We don't have to break out the flip the coin for this one. I'll concede that the Badger is going to move on, but the Mean Green had a good run. I mean, it was a surprise that they were there and they showed up, and everybody's proud of them.
Absolutely. No, look, this one came to intentional fouls and free throws at the end of the game. Awesome showing by North Texas, but Wisconsin's moving on.
Yeah. All right, next up, 6, Iowa versus East Tennessee. Iowa is the
Hawkeyes.
And East Tennessee is the
Bucks.
Oh, yeah, very good. Actually, this is straight from the East Tennessee website. ETSU has had numerous mascots in its lifetime. All of them have been enriched our athletic experiences and our appreciation for school spirit. They range from live animals to pirates and parrots. ETSU's mascot tradition started back when ETSU was actually the state's teacher college. In the beginning, the athletics team were called, get this, the Teachers. But in 1935, the team became known as the Buccaneers. And there's a long backstory of why they chose a pirate, and I don't know if it's real or not, but they're a landlocked school, and a landlocked state, and they're really far away from the ocean. But they chose a pirate or a buccaneer.
Yeah. Yep. And this is one where I'm going to have to put personal feelings aside because, again, this is not a Mercer podcast, okay? But senior year, conference championship, both teams were in the Atlantic Sun at the time, and it was my birthday, and ETSU eliminated Mercer to go to the NCAA tournament. But I've got nothing but respect for ETSU. Large school as well, large enrollment. A lot of people don't realize that. But I do appreciate the backstory of the teachers. Again, not a Mercer podcast, but Mercer, they were known as the Baptists before, so before changing to the Bears. So I appreciate the pivot, right, moving away from something that's not quite as intimidating per se. I've always wondered about the Hawkeye in general. I mean, do you have more info on what a Hawkeye is?
And dude, there's a long backstory about the Hawkeyes, and it was like there was a battle, there was an Indian Native American battle, and their leader was called Black Hawk, and he wasn't a chief, but he was like a leader, and then they named like the newspaper the Black Hawk to like remember him. But there is a story about Jerky, or Herky the Hawk. He got into a fight and with a Minnesota band member, a Golden Gopher band member, and the band member punched him in the face and broke the 40-year-old Herky the Hawkeye mask, and then they had to rebuild it the next year in 1998 is when it happened. They rebuilt it in Kevlar to stop that from ever happening again.
This was tough.
So he's
kind of tough.
He's got Kevlar.
I really appreciate ETSU going with a water mascot. I mean, we're just down the road from Vanderbilt, similar situation, right? Not a lot of Commodores in these neck of the woods, not a lot of ships going around. So that's an interesting. I wonder if that's a Tennessee thing. There's a longing for the water there, and the bucket. I have an issue with Bucks though a little bit because Bucks we see it in Milwaukee with the NBA team called the Bucks. Even the Pittsburgh Pirates call themselves the Bucks instead of just the Pirates. So just being called the Bucks or the Buccaneers, it's been diluted a little bit for me. Similar to the Cats, I feel like we're taking jabs at a lot of different genres of mascot here, but it's tough for me. I mean, Hawkeye is pretty fierce in the same way that the Eye of the Tiger would be kind of fierce. I sort of picture LSU in that way. Yeah. But okay, here's where I'm landing on it. Buccaneer is going to wear a Hawkeye on his shoulder, right? Yes. So I mean, the Buccaneers in charge here. I'm going with the Bucks.